Today we're going to go over Java arrays. We're going to show you what an array is and how to populate an array. We're going to show you how to manipulate data in the array. Okay, so let's give you an example. So here I have string person 1, I have string person 2, I have string person 3, string person 4. These are all just individual variables, and I needed 4 people, so I declared 4 variables. But what happens if I need 50 variables or 71? Maybe there's 71 people in the room. Well, what we could use instead of declaring each of those variables is we can use an array. So instead, we can say string person, open square brackets 4. And so that does the exact same thing as this. The only difference is now I'm dealing with just one variable called person, and it has a size. So an array is a collection of items. They all have the same data type. So in this case it's string, but you could have an array of doubles or an array of ints. And all of the array positions, all of the values share the same name. They're all called person. So there is another way of doing an array is you can use what's called an initializer list, and all that does is you declare your array, and instead of saying there's 4, you actually put the values in the array. So here we have Jenny, Joe, Paul, and Fred, and what this would look like is you have a position 0 that would be Jenny because she was first in the list, and then Joe, and then Paul, and then Fred. The name of the array is still students. These square brackets, anytime you use an array, those square brackets mean that this is a list and not a single variable. Okay, there is also another use for those square brackets. So the first use of the square brackets was in setting the size of your array if you're just doing a basic declaration and not an initializer list. It's also used to denote that it's an array. The third reason is it's used to access items in the list. So in this situation, I'm saying students at position 0 is equal to Jenny. It's putting Jenny into position 0 of the array. You could also use a variable in those square brackets. So maybe it was position X that you wanted to change to Jenny. You could use a variable to do that. Okay, now you can add multiple items to your list, and so in this situation, instead of using an initializer list, I'm declaring my array as size 4, and then I'm putting Jenny into position 0, Joe into position 1, Fred into position 2, no, Paul into position 2, and Fred, I should have done the Beatles, huh? Anyway. Now here's an example though. In this situation, I want to create a card deck, a list of cards. And so I have 52 cards, and I'm just going to set them equal to random numbers. So I'm going to set card 1, card 2, card 0, card 3, card 4. This gets to be tedious. So instead of assigning all of those values, you can use a for loop. You notice here, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to the very last one. Instead, I'm going to say for I equals 0, I is less than 52, I plus plus. And I'm going to put I in these square brackets so it will initialize and set all 52 cards equal to a random number. Yes, for a card deck, this is probably not the most ideal way because we might have more than like 7 aces in this particular card deck, but you get the idea that you can use a for loop to iterate through your list. Okay, now there is another type of for loop you can use. We've learned about the one kind. Now that you've gotten used to it, we're switching it up on you. This one's really cool because it's super simple. So here I have a card list, and and it's of type int. So in my for loop, I'm just going to say int card colon card list, and all that is doing is iterating through card list and setting card equal to each element in the list one at a time as it iterates through this list. And so this is called a for each loop because it just iterates through the list, and you can use it to print things out, you can use it to modify things. You just can't use it to add or remove items from your list. Okay, if you want to know what the length of your list is, you can use the dot length, just like we did with string.length, but string.length has an open close parentheses. The length of an array does not. There's no open close parentheses after it. Now you can also instantiate objects. In this unit we are not going to be, but later on in class we'll show you how to instantiate objects of your list. So suppose I had a player class, a user-defined class. I could say players list equals new player, and then I would have to instantiate every single item in my list by starting at 0 and going through to the length of the list and instantiating each item as an instance of the player class. Alright, so that is just your basics of what is an array. You're going to get more in detail in your reading. So go through and read either the W3 Schools or the textbook or the tutorials point, or try out some of those practice exercises, and we will see you in class on next week.